favorite albums. It's one of those albums that when you put it on, you can listen. It doesn't have any bad songs. Listen from cover to cover, and a lot of different types of songs. It was. I always thought it was like a new direction for the Eagles. A little bit more harder rock. They brought in a new member, and I'll tell you that. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Released in December of '76, fifth studio album. So a lot of people say that this was their peak.
Oh yeah,
you want to say that?
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Yep, a little bit harder rock sound. They brought in a new member on this album.
Oh really?
Yeah. You ever heard of Joe Walsh?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I've heard of the great Joe Walsh. I mean, he's had a heck of a solo career and stuff, but yeah, Of course, I've heard of Joe Walsh, man. He's the best.
Yeah. Well, so they brought him in because they had their other guitarist Bernie Leadon. He left the band, so they brought Joe in, and he to me kind of changed the sound of the band.
Right.
When Bernie left, I think he didn't really see the direction of the band going into the more hard rock. He liked the more country rock type sound.
Right.
And so they brought Joe in, and it really he really got to show off on this album a little bit and some of the songs, especially as everybody knows that for Hotel California.
Oh yeah,
a great lead parts at the end of that song.
Oh yeah, definitely Hotel California, because of just the lyrics and the arrangement of the song was such a fantastic song. Just how it just came about and stuff. And when you think of the Eagles, you do think of Hotel California, the song Hotel California.
Yeah. So Joe came on, and of course you had Don Felder, guitars, Glenn Frey guitars, Don Henley. He was mostly the vocalist on most of the songs, also the drummer, and then Randy Meisner was the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And this album in the U.S., it sold over 16 million copies.
Wow.
So if you go to your record store, you'll find this album. Worldwide, it sold over 32 million copies. So this is not an expensive album to pick up. It's you can still get it relatively inexpensively.
Mm-hmm.
On Rolling Stone, they do the list of the 500 greatest albums. You can look that up.
Yes.
Number 37.
Number 37.
Yeah.
Wow.
If it was my list, I'd probably put a little bit closer to the top of that list.
Oh, I mean, I definitely would. I mean, heck, I would actually put that like down further for like one of the greatest albums in rock and roll history, man. I mean, but number 37, that's Rolling Stone has a big list to compile of albums and stuff. So
there's always disagreements on those lists.
Oh yeah.
So the other cool thing about this thing, when it was released on vinyl, of course.
Yes.
It was released in cassette.
Yes.
You ever owned any of those?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about 8-tracks?
8-track? No, I've never owned an 8-track. Right. I think I was born about the year that 8-tracks came out.
So it was released on an 8-track. So whatever you had in your car at home, you were gonna be able to listen to this album. Every album they always have some singles released, and of course Hotel California was a single that was released.
Yeah.
Went to number 1.
Heck yeah.
New Kid in Town, released as a single.
Yes.
Went to number 1.
Yeah,
and then they had Life in the Fast Lane. It didn't hit number 1, but it was also released as a single.
Life in the Fast Lane, I have to say that's one of my favorite ones. I hear it on the radio a lot and stuff. I mean, it just how the song starts out with the guitar and then the bass just coming in and stuff. That is it's just an awesome, and just the beat of the song. It's just really good, and it's really good, catchy. Good
yeah,
song.
I remember hearing that song on the radio the first time, and I was always pretty good at guessing bands, but I couldn't guess what band this was because it sounded so different. Really? I never would have guessed the Eagles, but it just had a different sound than what we were used to with the Eagles.
Right.
So this thing was recorded in Miami and L.A. And another cool thing about when it was being recorded was in the studio. Black Sabbath was also recording in the same studio.
Oh yes, I heard they were recording in the same studio at the same time. You're talking about in L.A. or in Miami?
I'm not sure which studio it was.
I'd say probably might be L.A.
Yeah, I would think so. And evidently, Black Sabbath was so loud that they had to stop recording because the sound was coming through.
The Eagles was loud.
No, Black Sabbath.
Oh, Black Sabbath was loud, so they had to stop.
Black Sabbath was too loud. Yeah. I always like to mention the producer because they have a lot of input on the direction of the album, what the album sounds like.
Right.
You know, they take the sound, they take the abilities of the musicians, and they kind of give it a direction, give it a sound.
Yeah.
And he had worked with the Eagles for the previous couple of albums.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Szymczyk.
Yes.
And what he did was he was responsible, along with Joe Walsh and Don Felder, to really pushing this toward more of a harder rock sound.
Right.
This guy worked with the James Gang. So he kind of knew Joe Walsh, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
He worked with B.B. King. He worked with Jay Giles Band. He worked with the Outlaws.
Yes, the Outlaws.
He worked with Edgar Winter. He worked with Bob Seger. So
yes,
he definitely knew his way around a studio.
Oh yeah,
and he knew what they needed to do to get hits. And how to get a harder rock sound out of a group.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's such a really good, fantastic producer. I mean, working with, especially, I mean, his resume speaks for itself. With he worked with, I mean, especially my favorites, Bob Seger and the Outlaws, two of my favorite bands there from the classic rock era.
So let's look at this album. They also have a ranking for album covers because, you know, album covers, to me, they're art.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think back on your favorite albums, you always think about album covers.
Yeah, definitely.
So this was ranked number 6 of one of the greatest album covers.
Oh, really?
The front side of this album, it's got a picture of a hotel on it. That's the Beverly Hills Hotel. And if you notice the word Hotel California down in the bottom left-hand corner, it looks like it's like the old type of neon sign, but it's actually they couldn't actually do the neon sign. They couldn't get the words to turn like that and to light up, so they just airbrushed it so it looks like a neon sign.
Oh yeah, you can see right there.
So they took that picture in the evening. The light was perfect. You got the palm trees, and really an iconic album cover. The guy that shot this album cover, his name he goes by the name of Kosh.
Kosh?
Yeah.
Kosh.
And you might have heard of another iconic album cover that he did a few years before this one. You ever heard of the album Abbey Road? Yes,
okay. I've heard of Abbey Road. Yeah, so, I mean,
so this guy was this guy knew what constituted an iconic album cover, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So if you look at the inside cover, picture of a band inside of a hotel lobby. That lobby is the Lido Hotel in Hollywood. I always thought that was a cool inside album cover. There's back in the back corner, if you look at yours, there's a guy in a window back there that's kind of odd. Nobody really knows who that was.
Yeah, back there in the back top fingers here. Back up in this back window here. Yeah, you'll see a guy just standing up there. Let me try to zoom in here. I find that interesting with this album cover right here. A little too much glare, but Yeah, you see that
There
guy
he is.
right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just hanging out just right there,
Yeah.
way in the back there.
So they got the band in the middle, lit up a little bit, and then just a cast of characters in the lobby. I always liked over where the check-in desk is. There's a bellhop guy.
Yes,
It's just kind of a odd looking.
He's just hanging out there.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Of course, on the inside, which was always neat back in the day, was to get some lyrics written down.
Oh yeah.
You just couldn't go on the internet and search for lyrics, could you?
Nope. You definitely you couldn't.
So it was nice to get some lyrics in there, and it's for the Hotel California.
Oh yeah.
And then on the back cover is the same picture of that lobby, just with no one in it. They got a guy in the back
cleaning up there.
Guy. Yep.
Yeah. The back of it right there.
But you notice, let me show you something else on the front of that album cover. You notice on the front, what's missing on the front of that album cover? You know what it is?
What is it?
Do you see the name Eagles anywhere?
No, you don't. You don't see the name of the band on the front cover.
You know, when you get to a certain point, when you're in a band and you get to that certain point, you don't need to put your name on the front of an album cover, do you?
No, you don't.
Think about some of the iconic album covers that once they reach that point, and when you get to that point where you say, we're kind of like the biggest band in the world right now.
Yeah.
You don't need to put your name on the front of an album cover. So it's not on there.
Yeah,
but you hold that up to anybody, and
they know exactly.
They know it's the Eagles.
Oh yeah.
When you get to that point.
I mean, the album cover this album speaks for itself, man. It does. And with it, with like what they say is, it's like it usually does take a while for a band to actually, make it. I mean, usually sometimes it's just a turn of, luck of like maybe like their first or second album. But I think what was it back in those times right there, it took the Eagles 5 albums to actually like just get a hit. That's the same thing with don't want to go off subject here, but you mentioned Bob Seger. It took him quite a while as a local, and then when he came out with his album, it's just same thing with the Eagles.
Yep.
Excuse me, with the Eagles, same thing. This 5th album, it hit it, and then people's like, wow, it's like, who's this band? And it's like, this band's been around.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with talent. It has to do with luck, being in the right place at the right time, and have that certain sound that is attributed to you. So when someone says they got that California sound,
yeah,
you think of the Eagles.
Oh yeah,
because they came up with that not a kind of a country rock, but it was, you always thought of California when you heard their music. And so once you get to that point, you know, when your music is recognized just by the way it sounds, then you know that you've got something special.
Yes.
Let's look at these songs on here. Let's pull out the pull out that inside sleeve. So Don Henley, at this point, he did most of the lyrics, but there are a few songs on here that there are some more. There are different singers.
Yes.
First, you got on side one, you got Hotel California. Of course, Henley sings the. He's the singer on that one, and vocalist, and he also plays the drums.
Oh yeah, Don Henley. He's such an amazing talent.
So, you know, you can go on YouTube, and there's such an awesome live video of that song.
Hotel California.
Yeah, that you can pick up, and
oh yeah,
you can really get a sense of that being in concert, and it sounds, you know, a lot of bands when you hear a song in concert, it just doesn't match up to what they've recorded, but
right.
That's one of those songs where it's pretty much note for note what you hear on a record. The second one, Glenn Frey sang on, New Kid in Town.
Yes,
that turned out to be one of their number one singles.
Yes, that's a really good song. Just lyrically, it's just a really, really good song. Just listening to it and stuff.
Yeah, the purpose or the meaning of that song, and you can relate it to anything, but being the one person that you're good at, or one thing that you're good at, and then somebody else comes along.
Oh yeah.
So it's just a way of saying that you can be good at one point, but there's always somebody else out there that can come around and knock you off the top of the heap.
Oh yeah. Especially the guitar arrangements on this song right here. I mean, I was really impressed with the guitar arrangements stuff, how it comes out and stuff. I mean, it kind of starts out there a little bit and with the guitar arrangements, and then it just gets into the song there, and the lyrically, it's just like you said, it's a really, really good song.
Yep. And then third song on the first side is "Life in the Fast Lane."
Yes, one of my favorite.
Don Henley, vocalist on that. Guitars are amazing on that. You've got Joe Walsh. You got Don Felder.
Mm-hmm.
Just an amazing song. That was single. It was released as a single also. And then the last song on the first side is "Wasted Time." Henley sings that one again.
Yes.
And then when you go over to side 2, it's what they call a reprise. "Wasted Time" reprise. It's instrumental.
Okay, I was wondering about that. Usually, what during back in the 60s and 70s, what like an album would a band would release a album, and they would take one of the songs, and then at the end of the album they would have like just the instrumental version of it, right?
Right. They would do that. Yeah. Then the next song, second song on side 2 was "Victim of Love." Henley sings that one. I kind of like that one. That's one of my favorite songs on the album. The cool thing about this is when you pull out your vinyl there out of your sleeve,
Mm-hmm.
on side 2, the part of the record that's at the end is called the run out.
Yes.
And if you pull it out and you hold it up to the light just right, you will see the letters VOL.
Yes, I see it.
That stands for Victim of Love. And what does it say on there?
Yeah, VOL is 5-piece live.
Okay, so that's like a little note on there. At this point, the Eagles, sometimes they were getting criticized about using a lot of overdubs in the studio and that type of arrangements, and using the studio to kind of beef up some of their sound. So
Right.
They put that in there to show that on that song, all 5 of them got in the studio at the same time and played that song.
Huh.
You could say it wasn't really played live, but it was played all together in the studio at one time.
Oh.
And what you hear on there is how it was recorded.
Really?
So that was a little neat little thing that they did in there, just to show everybody that they can play all together live in the studio like that.
Yeah, maybe I can probably try to pick it up on the camera here, maybe a little bit. It's really, really hard to see. I don't know if the camera would pick it up. I know this is HD cam, but maybe. That's pretty neat though. But it's right in here where it says that. Talking about right in the edge. If you have any vinyls, you probably want to like check them out, or if you noticed them.
Yeah. What else does that say on there?
On the same side?
Yeah. Does it say anything else on there?
Yeah, it says. It looks like it says. It looked like a couple things that are scratched out, and it says SP, and then it says. Let me look. See it here. It says something. We 103 Bree.
Yeah. Check the other side. See if there's a message on the other side.
Okay, on the other side here it says. Is it 6 o'clock yet?
Yeah. So that's some kind of an inside
Inside.
joke or something between the band. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, so it's always neat to look at these albums like that.
Oh yeah.
They put little messages on there.
That is pretty neat though. That is.
So the third song on side 2 is "Pretty Maids All in a Row,"
Yes.
and actually Joe Walsh sings on that one.
Yeah.
And you know what else he does?
What's that?
What instrument do you think he plays on that? Not a guitar.
Bass?
No.
Drums?
Plays piano.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat that he got on there, and that's not an instrument that you would normally think, that he would play.
Right.
Next song on side 2 is "Try and Love Again." That was the vocalist on that was actually the bass player, Randy Meisner. So they switched up a little bit with vocalists. Then, of course, on the last song on that, "The Last Resort."
Yes.
Neat song. You got to listen to the lyrics on that one to really get the full hit of that one.
Uh-huh.
Don Henley sings that one. So, like I say, Henley at that point, he was he did most of the vocals on all the songs, but every once in a while they'll throw somebody else in there.
Yeah, I think what makes this album so different and so neat is that everyone kind of stepped up and got to showcase their talent, which is playing a different instrument, singing, and just each song is so diverse and stuff. And if you think about it, it's like Hotel California is the perfect name for this album, because basically it's like with the Eagles, there's so many variety of talent right there, and basically it's like Hotel, you got so many different people.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah,
you kind of see that philosophy.
Yeah.
It's something I always thought about when I think of Hotel California.
Yeah, once that first song was wrote, Hotel California, then the album just everything went around that song.
Oh yeah.
Once Don Felder wrote that inner beginning riff on there, then it's just everything started happening after that.
Yes.
Back in the 70s, another thing about this album or about this band, back in the 70s, they used to do concerts in Orlando.
Oh.
And they had them at a place over there, and I think the place was torn down. It was called the Tangerine Bowl.
Tangerine Bowl. I've heard of that.
Yeah. Outside venue. They used to have what they used to call rock Super Bowls. And if you go online, you type in Orlando's Rock Super Bowls, you'll see a list of rock Super Bowls they had all the way through the 70s.
Really?
So, believe it or not, I saw the Eagles when they were doing their Hotel California tour in July of 77.
Wow. No way.
July 3rd, 1977.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
So
that's cool.
When they came on, and they came on at night, because the whole setup was they had 3 or 4 bands, and then they were the main band that came on in the evening. The music started around noontime, and it was on July 3rd, 1977. So you can imagine how hot it was.
Oh yeah, That's basically like the middle of summer, and being here in Florida, of course, it's going to get hot.
Yep.
It's going to get hot.
Cost $10 to get in.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, $10.
$10 to get in.
That is awesome.
First band that came up was a singer called Andrew Gold. He had a couple of hits in the 70s. After him, it was Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates, yeah, can't forget Hall & Oates.
After him, it was Jimmy Buffett.
Wow.
And then it was the Eagles, and they had the stage. They had a big drop. The backdrop of the stage was that cover of the front cover of this album.
Oh, really?
Yep. And of course, the song they opened with was Hotel California.
Oh yeah, that is awesome.
And it was extremely hot during the day, as you can imagine. And then, as you know, it happens in Florida. What happens when it starts cooling off? You'll get a rain shower.
Yes.
So you roasted in the daytime and you got rained on at night. And
wow.
You can ask some of your brothers and sisters because they went to rock Super Bowls too.
Oh, yeah.
So they know exactly what I'm talking about. So I actually got to see them in concert play this Hotel California, and they played a couple of songs. They mostly played their main hits from their other albums, but on this one they did play Hotel California.
That is awesome. That is awesome. One thing I noticed, and you mentioned, it's like the same year they recorded what they did was they recorded this album, and then by the end of the year they basically had it released.
Yeah,
it was like really, really quick. I mean, they were in there and then out basically when they got having this album recorded.
Yep, and then they went on tour, and I don't even know how many cities they hit on this tour, but I can only imagine they went all over the country.
Oh yeah, great band, great album. I mean,
and it's affordable, so
yeah,
get in your record stores, look at the garage sales, get this album. It's not going to break the bank on you. There's plenty of them out there. Get the album, get a turntable, start listening to it, open the album up, just pour through the album, look at the pictures, read the lyrics, and enjoy vinyl.
Yep.
Enjoy the vinyl.
Yep. Awesome, man. Good album. Yeah, I recommend it. I mean, basically, if you do not own this album right here, if you do not own it in your vinyl collection, you need to get it, because if you don't have it, then you don't know what you're missing, man. You do not know what you're missing, because if you collect vinyl albums, this is a must-have in it. It definitely is. It definitely is.
All right, so that'll wrap up this edition of Dave's Classic Album Review.